Tough.
Yeah, that's tough.
The Ravens heading home. But, Paul, are you giving Lamar Jackson a pass for the loss?
No, he can't get a pass. I mean, he's the face of the team. I mean, when they win, he gets the credit. When he lose, he got to get some of the blame. You know, now he kept this team in it and gave them a shot at the end of the game, which is, you know, all you can ask for. But just a critical fumble that led to a touchdown, interception, which didn't lead to any points. But like I said, Lamar, expectations come with him. When you're a two-time MVP, can probably win a third MVP this year. Who knows when they announce that? You know, this just comes with it. You know, you're one of the game's greats. So you have to take some of the blame. Now, lucky enough, he's still young. He has a pretty good coaching staff and a good team, and hopefully they can bounce back. But when you have windows of opportunity like the last two he has to perform when they really need it. And he just hasn't done that over the last couple years when they really need it, because right now this was supposed to be the leap. He was supposed to take that leap after going to the AFC championship game a year ago. This was the year you were saying, hey, you got Lamar Henry. This should be able to get you over the hump. And another thing, a stat that I brought up all year long, when Henry gets 20 carries, they usually win. He got 16 carries, Joy, so you got to put that squarely on Lamar and the coaching staff.
And the coaching staff. But history will remember this as a failure for Lamar. That's just the reality of it. We're in a world where we battle, and it's a quarterback battle, and we talk about Lamar and Josh and Patrick Mahomes, and it was really a fight to see who gets an opportunity to try to knock off Patrick Mahomes. Look at all the credit we give Joe Burrow. Why do we give him that much credit? Because we know he's beating Patrick Mahomes. And Lamar wanted this opportunity. I know he wanted the opportunity. He played hard, and I could see in that press conference, man, when he said, why do we got to keep making those mistakes, making those drop balls, fumbles, and things like that? But somehow, some way, you got to win those games. We're going to talk about it later. We'll talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The only thing that keeps all of us from saying, oh, God, this team going to beat them, because we know 1-5 is going to do what he has to do to win the game in the end. And that's where Lamar has to get to. Regardless, you got to get to the place what you have to do, what you need to do to win the game in the end. I know people, Mark Andrews, oh, my God, I felt so bad for that dude because that's such a hard-working dude, and he's been such a great pro. And you know what he must have gone through, not, you know, dropping that ball and letting his team down right there after the team had stuck by him and got him a contract after the big injury he had. He came back. Oh, my God, I felt for this. I felt for him here. But it's like we can talk about how rocky the waters are all day, but you got to bring the ship in. And right here, you didn't bring the ship in, and that's how it's ultimately going to be remembered. I can't remember the particulars of why Peyton lost to Tom Brady. You know what I mean? When I think back, I was trying to remember, do I remember the particulars? Why
did they lost?
All I know is that Peyton lost. You know, I remember them saying, well, the DBs got away with pass interference, stuff like that. But you don't remember those small plays, and the people won't remember those small plays. Lamar, you have to get back in this fight. You have to get back to this game, and you got to win it and go beat Patrick Mahomes before you can ever have your peace.
I wouldn't say that I'm giving him a pass. I think we should talk about this game with a little more nuance. To your points, history is going to remember Lamar lost to Josh Allen. But today, we can add some context to it. As the years go on, we will wipe away Mark Andrews' fumble and his, dropped pass to, complete the two-point conversion. But today, we can say that happened. Yes. Mark Andrews had a disappointing game. An otherwise great player and a great pro. Hadn't fumbled since 2019. No one would have expected him to. That's the play you wanted, the moment you wanted. That's the guy you wanted to throw it to in that moment. And he didn't get it done. So that's not all on Lamar Jackson. But what is on Lamar Jackson is that pretty poor first half. Is the fact that he did turn the ball over multiple times. And in the playoffs, we can't do Keyshawn's rule of half the turnovers don't count. It doesn't matter.
Right.
They count for more.
Right.
Like you don't get to live another day. You don't necessarily get to recover from those things. So was Lamar spectacular at the end of the game and put them in a position to tie the game, and he put the ball in Mark Andrews' hands? Yes. But when you look at the waves of a game, the momentum of a game, the mistakes throughout the game, why they always say it didn't come down to that one play, because it didn't. There were a lot of mistakes. There were things that could have gone either way. You're driving, you turn the ball over, that matters. Whether or not it turns into points or not, that's points that you weren't able to score. So even if that turnover doesn't wind up in immediate points for the opposing team, you didn't get those points because you turned the ball over. And in the postseason, all of those things matter. Not giving the ball to Derrick Henry as many times as you game
Right. That's on hardball.
You've got to do that.
Right.
You have to do that. You have to figure out a way to get him those 20 touches. I'm not, I'm not completely in on analytics as like, okay, you have to do this or we're going to. But once you get to a certain number of games where this is the evidence, and that is your style of play, and that's what you have to do. So
and
I don't lay this all at
9-0.
I don't lay it all
I
at
got to play those odds no matter what. And in this game, if they play those odds, I think he's in less trouble because he's putting the ball in harm's way less.
Right.
You give him 4 more great runs. Maybe that's one of the interceptions or the fumble.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Give Derrick Henry that opportunity. I thought they took it out of his hands. I thought that happened in every game.
Didn't allow him to be a presence. Like, he's shown presence throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, and then the one game you need him to, you didn't allow him to do that. And so that's
16
why
carries for
home.
84 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. It's frustrating because Lamar Jackson has been so spectacular all season. But look, the whole of the game matters when you get to the postseason, and when you're up against a team that is equal to you. They're in the same game you are. They won their division. They're at home. Like that, you may look on this side and say this side has more talent, but you guys are facing off, and the result for either one of you, if you don't win this, is your season is over. Right. You cannot give them extra possessions. You cannot make mistakes, because if they're counting on not making mistakes and they're going to take advantage of your mistakes, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter how well you played during the regular season. It doesn't matter if you beat them during the regular season. Each game has a different story. Right. And those turnovers matter. That's why Lamar Jackson's talking about them the way that he is.
Right, Joy. And you bring such great context to everything and bring it in. Because as athletes, we're like, this is how you're going to be remembered. That's just what it is, you know. But you do. Today, we can talk the details. And we can talk about certain things. Like if Lamar Jackson had gone in and Mark Andrews turned the ball over, did all that he did, Lamar Jackson threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions and rushed for another 100 yards and another touchdown, we would be saying, that was too spectacular of a game. He shouldn't have lost that game. That's on something, you know. But when you have those early mistakes and those early miscues, then, and even Lamar Jackson himself says, that puts me at risk.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I'm thinking of what are games that we remember and we immediately say, but they shouldn't have lost that game. Buffalo with the 13 seconds.
Right,
yes,
right,
Josh Allen did lose to Kansas City. They did lose.
But you can't take that. You give Patrick Mahomes love instead of Josh Allen hate.
Right. Yeah. We're not going to say Josh Allen didn't do everything he could do to be in that situation. He won that game.
You're absolutely right.
Patrick Mahomes just happened to be on the other side.
All we talk about is 13 seconds. We don't talk about I don't remember what else Josh did in that game. All I remember was 13 seconds.
Technically, they won the game. Technically, they did.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and that's the history tells it different. But there are very few games where we're going to add any kind of nuance to the wins or losses when it's two greats matching up. And today, we have to look at all of it. I don't lay it solely at the feet of Lamar Jackson, because he still put them in a position in that final drive to tie the game. Now, whether they would have gone on to win or not, who knows? But it's just tough. You feel for Lamar after a season like that.
You know what's crazy? It happens in sports, basketball, and I'm seeing it a lot in football. But I don't know, Michael, can you attest to this? Like, to win in the playoffs and to win a championship, you have to be good and lucky.
Yeah.
There has to be luck along the way. Like, that was Andrews dropping that was luck.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the luck back, because he catches that.
All the time.
It's just along the path to get to where you need to go, there has to be some luck involved, because he catches that ball.
And the margins are so small. They really are so small. When I look at Lamar Jackson right now, he looks back and he starts looking at the history he wrote, he has ridden. You see where the tight ends have been a great asset to him, but absolutely have been a great liability also. Because in that last playoff game, remember, the Harbaugh, they couldn't stop Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce, that tight end killed him. Earlier this season, the first game, lightly, just pull that toe back a little, just lightly, just a little bit.
Yeah.
That tight end killed him.
The luck wasn't
and
on
now
Baltimore's
Mark
side.
Andrews,
Yeah, look at this. Wow.
This, right, it's all tight ends. Look at the tight end right here again. They're sending him home every time. It's just, it's crazy when you think about that. I do think if Zay Flowers in this game, that makes a difference. You know,
yeah, not having Zay definitely changed some things. I mean, when you have a target like that unavailable, you have to change your game plan and your style of play.
Right, especially him, because in that kind of weather, everything condenses down. Now, if he was an outside wide receiver running just deep routes, I'm saying, all right, it doesn't make a difference. But an inside guy, and you're running crossing routes, you're just getting him that short ball, and he can take it and run. That affected the game in a big way.
Well, switching over to the winning side, Josh Allen didn't have to do anything superhuman to beat the Ravens, and he also didn't have to do anything crazy to mess it up. His 127 passing yards were his fewest this season, but his 2 rushing touchdowns were enough to help the Bills get back in the AFC Championship. So, Michael, did Josh Allen prove he was the MVP last night?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You take less and beat a man that's as gifted and as talented as you are, and who everybody's predicting now going to be the MVP. I'm sure some of those guys started running back to the phone. Hey, is that vote in? Can we change that vote? You see what I mean?
For real.
Right at the end of this game. But the way he handled himself, and I said this, okay, I thought Josh was already the MVP. Now, so he can go into this game, he can throw for a whole bunch of yards and show you why he's the MVP to solidify it. Or he can do the other thing, and I thought he did that. He can go in this game and show you why he's the MVP, because he cleaned up all this other stuff and not make any dumb plays, any stupid plays. And the enemy. I always tell people that's who you have to worry about, is the enemy, that old chump at me that keeps telling me to go do those old things. And it almost told Josh to do those old things. He almost pitched that ball. And boy, I'm so glad he didn't pitch it, because he'd have pitched away all he had gained this year. If he had pitched that ball and they just scooped that ball and went and scored, all the work you put in would be gone in that one play in this moment. So he held on to it, and they ultimately win the game. And that is as MVP as you can get. I stayed within the framework of what my team needed to win this game.
Yeah, he didn't make any mistakes, and I hope that the voters got it right. You know, it'll be a shame to see, he actually beat Lamar in the playoffs when it counted most and not bring home the MVP, because I think, this was what people wanted to see. People wanted to see, all right. So now you go, and if Lamar gets the MVP, a lot of people are like, it should have went to Josh. I mean, he didn't have a spectacular game, but he did what he needed to do to help his team win. It's like he's willing these guys. You went up against a Baltimore team who was favored in your building where you've never lost, who brought 9 Pro Bowlers, and you beat them. Like, that screams MVP to me. We're not going to remember the stats after today or tomorrow, but we're going to remember that Josh beat Lamar in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know that the statistics need to be outrageous for it to be an MVP performance. He was good enough. He had some wow moments, like he always does. I mean, listen, there's times when I'm like, Josh, please, why are you taking that hit? Like, you're the quarterback. Get down. Don't do it. But you can't take that away from him. And then when he does run into the end zone and he's dragging three men with him, I'm like, all right, well, that's pretty impressive. Not too many people can do that. But what's so impressive to me about Josh Allen is what you've both said. He has not played himself this year. He has not gone outside of himself. He is so good for a ridiculous turnover in a big moment. And he has corrected that this year. And that, to me, is a big part of why he should be the MVP, a big part about why they're successful this year, because we didn't think that this roster was as good as it's ended up being. And that's in large part to Josh Allen's play, but it's also because he's not putting the ball in danger like he usually does. He's not tapping into that inner demon of pitch the ball, do something extra, go a little further, force this in here. He's not doing that. And had he done that yesterday, they probably would have lost that game. But because they won the mistake battle in the biggest moment, in a tough environment to play in, he got the win. And that, to me, is MVP level. Lamar talked about it before the playoffs even started, about him playing outside of himself, about him doing too much. Even the fumble, you could have argued, look, Lamar should have just got down.
Just go down.
Just hold the ball and go down.
But you understand him, he's gotten out of that so many times where, wow. Yeah. But at this point, at this place,
you can't afford mistakes.
And that ball is slippery, it's slick, and he had it in one hand and trying to grip it, and he just lost the ball. And that is part of the decision-making process, too. Because as we go through this, there were players, the Jerry Goffs, and every one of them, they stepped outside of who they've been all year, and now they're home. That's when you get to these big moments, you got to stay who you are.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.